You know, the story of NVIDIA, it's easily one of the most incredible tales in modern tech. I mean, we're talking about a company that went from the brink of bankruptcy to becoming the absolute king of AI. And it all came down to one perfectly timed bet. So to really wrap your head around just how massive NVIDIA is today, let's just start with a number, a truly staggering number. At its peak, the company's value shot up to an almost unbelievable $5 trillion. But honestly, the story of how they got there is even crazier. Yeah, because that $5 trillion empire, it didn't start in some sleek, fancy boardroom. Nope, it started right here, in a booth at a Denny's diner in San Jose. All they had was 40 grand and an idea between 3 engineers. It's like the classic Silicon Valley story, but on steroids. So what was the mission at first? Well, it was all about creating these specialized chips for the 3D graphics boom that was happening in PC games. See, your normal computer processor, the CPU, it's really good at doing a few complicated things very fast, but one after the other. But 3D graphics? That's a whole different beast. It needs to do thousands of simple things all at the same time. And that's the bet NVIDIA made, that they could build a chip to do exactly that. And man, those early years were brutal. I mean, a failed chip in '96 almost took the whole company down. But they didn't quit. They bounced back, and in 1999, they launched something that would change everything, the GeForce 256.
And here's the brilliant part. NVIDIA themselves were the ones who called this chip the world's first GPU, a graphics processing unit. They literally defined the category they were about to completely dominate, a total power move that cemented their place as the leader in PC gaming.
But here's the thing. Even while they were on top of the gaming world, the CEO, Jensen Huang, he saw something that pretty much everyone else missed. He realized that this incredible power, this ability to do thousands of things at once to draw pixels on a screen, could be used for way more than just making video games look good. And that single insight? Well, it led to probably the most important pivot in the company's entire history. This was the moment they started to move from just being a gaming company to becoming a supercomputing powerhouse. And, you guessed it, the heart of the AI revolution. Okay, so they'd pretty much conquered gaming graphics. What's next? The next big goal was to unlock all that incredible processing power for, well, everything else. For science, for research, for just general-purpose computing. And the key to doing that came out in 2006. It was called CUDA. Think of it like a software key that unlocked the thousands of little processing cores inside their GPUs for any developer to use. All of a sudden, a scientist could have a mini supercomputer right on their desk. This was an absolute game changer.
But for years, CUDA was this incredibly powerful tool just waiting for its moment, its killer app. And then in 2012, it happened. A research paper, AlexNet, came out. It showed how a couple of regular old NVIDIA gaming GPUs were used to just crush a huge AI image recognition contest. That was the aha moment. The modern AI revolution had literally just kicked off, and it was running on NVIDIA.
So Jensen Huang sees this, and he goes all in. He bets the whole company on AI. Why? Because he understood that training these new AI models was fundamentally the same kind of math problem as rendering 3D graphics. It's all about doing millions of simple calculations at the same time. The amazing thing is, the architecture they had perfected for gaming was, almost by accident, the perfect tool for creating artificial intelligence. They weren't just riding the AI wave, they basically built the surfboard. And then the AI boom really hit. When models like ChatGPT dropped, what was once a slow burn in research labs suddenly turned into a massive explosion. And every single company, from tiny startups to tech giants, all racing to build AI, they all needed one critical thing: NVIDIA's chips. The results were just jaw-dropping. You look at their data center revenue, and it's not a curve, it's a vertical line, just straight up, growth like nobody had ever seen before, and it was all driven by the insatiable demand from AI. In a flash, they went from being just another successful tech company to being the literal engine of a global revolution. And their dominance? It became almost total. By 2026, NVIDIA controlled over 80, sometimes even more than 90% of the entire market for these AI chips. We're talking about a near monopoly on the most important technology of our time. So how did they secure this lead? Relentless innovation. It was like clockwork. Every 2 years, boom, a new chip architecture. Volta came along and introduced tensor cores. Think of them as tiny, specialized calculators baked right into the chip just for doing AI math. Then Hopper arrived, perfectly timed for the ChatGPT explosion. And now Blackwell is here. designed to handle the next giant leap, AI models with 1 trillion parameters. And the scale of this stuff, it's just mind-bending. Their newest chip, Blackwell, has an insane 208 times billion transistors packed into it. That's not just a chip anymore. It's an entire supercomputer built for one single purpose, to create intelligence.
So you gotta ask, right? In an industry this cutthroat, how on earth did NVIDIA build a lead that seems, well, almost impossible to beat? What's their secret sauce?
Well, it really comes down to a few key things. First, there's that software, CUDA. It's created this massive ecosystem, a kind of moat around their business, that developers are basically locked into. It's just too hard to leave. Second, you have that relentless 2-year innovation cycle we talked about. And finally, you have visionary leadership that isn't thinking about next quarter, they're planning a decade out.
This quote from Jensen Huang pretty much says it all about their company culture. Even though they're on top of the world, they operate with this constant paranoia, this intensity that makes sure they never, ever get comfortable. And you can see how well that philosophy has worked out for them.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? From a booth at Denny's to the very heart of the AI revolution, NVIDIA has built an absolute empire. But we all know how fast technology moves. No king reigns forever. The real question is, with a lead this massive, can anyone even get close to catching the king of AI?